Reverend Bo wanted you to hear from the UUA's response in 2023 to legislative attacks against the trans and non-binary community. As progressive people of faith, we affirm and remain in solidarity with trans and non-binary plus people because this is a fight for everyone's humanity. We must actively work to create a society where trans children can be free to be who they are and fully live into their identity. And we must strengthen our partnerships across faith communities and grassroots partners to build networks of safety and care while mobilizing for change that supports a more just, equal, and loving society. We are clear and unapologetic. Our LGBTQIA+ siblings are sacred, whole, and divine. As Unitarian Universalists, we understand the full expression of the diversity of gender and sexuality is a gift. Our commitment to love and justice, to inclusive ministry and prophetic action is deep and life-affirming. I wanted to bring to your attention, as the UUA did, the common read for that year was Authentic Selves, Celebrating Trans and Non-Binary People and Their Families. It's by Peggy Gillespie, and through interviews and photo portraits, the subjects of this book invite people into their real lives and their revelations, challenges, joys, and networks of support. So I'm going to leave this in the parlor, where we also have some other books and materials from the SouthCoast LGBTQ+ network. Sharing true stories is often the only way that we can connect deeply and authentically as humans. Real stories give us an opportunity to learn from other people's experiences and can strengthen or challenge our opinions and values. It gives us an opportunity to grow spiritually and emotionally, and to learn how to protect trans and non-binary rights. So I want to welcome our guest speaker today. Andy Pollock is from SouthCoast LGBTQ+ network. He wants you to know that he lives in Dartmouth. He is a farmer. He's also been the president of the board of this organization for 5 years. In a previous life, he was part of the Marriage Equality Coalition, if we remember that, back in the mid-2000s. And he and his organization actually flipped 15 of 17 legislators in this area when it came to the vote to allow marriage equality, same-sex marriage. And as a coda to that, they raised over $100,000 for those 15 legislators for their following election. So thank you. Thank you for everything that you've been doing, and welcome.
Good morning, all. I'll put this to watch the time, but if I start looking at the calendar, you know I've gone too far. It's an old Quaker joke. I'm going to move this up. Thank you. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the SouthCoast LGBT Network. It was formed 10 years ago with the idea that we would become the conduit for services for LGBT folks in our area. And we realized soon after that that there weren't services to be the conduit for. So we decided to work and see if we could provide services for folks in the geographic region which is from Wareham to Swansea up to Taunton. We have offices in Taunton, great space right on Naughty Walk. I know it's kind of a silly name, but it's where we're at. And also in Fall River, and we're putting together a building in New Bedford. We've raised about $3 million for that. It's going to be one of the only community centers in Massachusetts of its kind. So we're really excited about this. We provide services for youth, elders, and trans folks. And the youth, the statistics around youth in Massachusetts, we're one of the only states that does a state report on it, are not good. I mean, looking at what LGBT kids go against and face compared to their straight counterparts is really disheartening. Suicide ideation, suicide attempts, bullying, skipping school, things like that. So vulnerable and marginalized population. We work with kids trying to keep them at home, keep families unified, and keep kids safe. We work in the schools and we work in churches, religious organizations. And with elders, my day job is I work with older folks helping them stay at home, and this is something that is close to my heart. With the older folks, a lot of that generation is fearful. They tend to be isolated, they tend to be alone, or having a shrinking social group. So we provide services like trips to the doctor, or food, or being the person who speaks for them at a congregate living, like a nursing facility. Can you imagine being trans in a nursing facility? And we provide opportunities for them to provide for socialization. We do a lot of intergenerational events, intergenerational with younger and older folks, and we do specifically generational events as well. And with trans folks, we provide services. What's amazing to me is the fear of trans folks, right? One of my trans friends says that more Americans say they've seen a ghost than know a trans person. So, you know, this very small population that's being targeted and demonized. But we provide services and support for the parents, for trans individuals, socialization, and we also do Trans Day of Remembrance. Unfortunately, in the United States, between 40 and 50 trans women are murdered every year, and we highlight that, memorialize it, and call for an end to the violence. Last year it was in the UU Church in Taunton. Well, it was really quite good. Also, Trans Day of Visibility, making trans issues aware in the community. Now, I'm old enough to remember when I was 18, it was 1981, and that was the demarcation of AIDS in the New York Times. And when that happened, I remember the 80s. A lot of you probably remember the 80s too. Bad haircuts and good music, right? But we were vilified then. We were called out. A lot of people thought we should be quarantined, that we should be segregated, that we should have tattoos marked on us, as people were dying like flies. 700,000 died of AIDS. And then fast forward to the marriage equality fight, where when we look at, it was fascinating. I was co-chair of the Marriage Equality Coalition in this area. And the pro was, you know, your standard love is love. The anti was crime's going to increase, and you're going to leave your heterosexual wife and become a gay married person, and these things were going to happen. And those things, anti-marriage was put on the ballot in a lot of states to drive people to the polls. And we saw sort of the anti-LGBT flavor again in those days. And here we are once more, where anti-trans legislation is rife. In the South, the laws that are dropping are incredible. You can't change your license in Texas. I would have to have a different marriage license in Tennessee. You can't say gay in the schools in Florida, Kentucky, Louisiana. Am I missing any? Iowa? I think we should have a spinning wheel, right, of the laws that are happening. There's laws being proposed in Texas that would criminalize trans individuals, and they would also stop transitions, which means it would stop medications and surgeries and all that stuff. I'm not saying that those things are going to happen. What I am saying is that they're throwing the markers down, and they're throwing these things farther and farther to the right. And I think that's to make us feel like, well, all right, well, they can't change the license on the driver's license, but, well, at least they're not being, put in jail. So it seems like these things they're getting more and more extreme, and I think we can't let ourselves not respond to that. So what are we doing in Massachusetts? In our area, we're doing listening sessions where we're listening to our community, the fears, the anxiety, and the concerns. With that said, we're trying to educate our folks as well. What is Project 2025? Have you read it? It's scary, and they're doing it. So we had a professor from Bridgewater do a very good symposium on Project 2025 to educate our folks. And then we're trying to move people to positive action. What we can do is very difficult to work nationally, although we're not backing down. What we can do is work locally. So if you have politicians that are standing up for LGBT, support them. And if you have politicians locally who are standing against LGBT, oppose them. You have much more power as individuals in your community in Middleboro than you do nationally. To have someone, and we learned this with the marriage equality fight, to get 5 people to walk into an office of a local politician is huge. It shows that there's probably 50 people out there that have the same view. And it really does change the needle. In Dartmouth, we've had book banners running that we fought. We have a fellow who's running as a vaccine denier for the Board of Health. You can't make this stuff up, you really can't. And so what we're trying to do with the LGBT is say, where are our politicians? Where are our local politicians on LGBT causes? How can we move them? I've spoken to the town of Dartmouth's Republican committee 2 volumes later, and I can't keep a good bitch down t-shirt on. It was powerful, and a third of them were there to trap me, a third of them there were kind of like, oh, why is he there? And a third of them were listening, and I thought, well, there we go. And we need to be aggressive. What I say to all the folks, and I'll say this to you this morning as I close, if we were waiting for someone on a white horse to arrive to solve this problem, we're going to wait a long time. Again, we learned this with the HIV and AIDS. With the gay community, people were dying and nothing was happening. It was horrible. We learned that with marriage equality. There was money being poured into the state from from the other parts of the country because we were the first in the country, and what they wanted to happen was it to be denied in a voting referendum, because then they'd say, look, the liberal judges forced this on the population, and our population voted it down. So we fought to get it off the ballot, which was a big step. So that being said, we were fighting against some of the public opinion, but we still had to fight, and here we are again. So I encourage you to look to see what you can do individually. That phone call, that letter, that visit, that standing out is so important for your LGBT folks. Standing up when you hear something said, standing up when something is not right. You have the power. And again, please don't wait for someone else to step up and do it, because you'll be waiting a long time. I encourage you to join us at Pride, which will be the second weekend in Taunton. If you'd like to get more involved, we do our own security. We do peace and disengagement. We believe in not engaging with the protesters. If you're looking for that, talk to me afterwards. We have training for folks who step in between us and the protesters, keep us safe. We have other opportunities to volunteer and help out. Your hands are needed, and we'll take everyone who comes our way. So God bless you this morning, and thank you for the UU. I have been in more UU churches lighting chalices through my career as an LGBT activist, and I can't thank you enough for your standing with us, almost from day one. So you have a long history. So let's keep going together, shall we? And we can move this needle forward. Even in this hurricane of bad news, we'll stand together and we'll fight. Thank you.